Lowest birth since the war, a labor force thinning, and a border built like a fortress. Poland's biggest crisis isn't at the fence, it's in the birth register. Poland just crossed into a demographic winter, and it's getting colder. Poland's population is shrinking and graying. In 2024, only 252,000 babies were born, about 20,000 fewer than the year before, the lowest annual total since World War II. By contrast, about 409,000 Poles died last year, continuing over a decade of natural population decline. The total fertility rate, the average number of children per woman, is now a bleak 1.1, which is far below the 2.1 replacement level. At this pace, official forecasts warn Poland will have roughly 5 million people less by 2060 and possibly 10 million less by 2080. In short, Poland has entered a full-blown demographic winter, one of the steepest declines in the European Union. The root causes are deeply social and economic, not genetic or mysterious. Surveys show Polish couples want children but feel they can't afford them. For example, 59% of respondents cite financial instability as the main obstacle, 44% point to housing shortages, and 42% fear losing their job as they grow their family. Poland's economy boomed after 1989, but left many young people in uncertain jobs and expensive cities. High housing costs and uncertain jobs encourage couples to delay or forego kids. At the same time, many women postpone motherhood for careers. Today, the average Polish woman's age at first birth is 29.1, up from 22.7 in 1990. Workplace bias also plays a role. Qualitative studies found employers often discriminate against pregnant women or mothers of young children, pushing women to delay family building. Women's labor force participation is still catching up, only 61% in 2019 for 75% overall, and childcare support lags behind Northern Europe. As one researcher notes, Polish women face discriminatory practices by employers and must juggle family without the same flexibility their Scandinavian peers enjoy. Another key factor is emigration. Since 2004, over 2 million Poles have moved abroad, mainly young workers, thinning the ranks of childbearing adults. Even older generations now have smaller families. Today, only about 6% of women say they don't want children. Yet as cohorts shrink, the actual number of births falls sharply. In addition, recent shocks have hurt family planning. The COVID-19 pandemic and Ukraine war introduced uncertainty, prompting some couples to postpone children. In short, it's not that Poles have suddenly turned anti-family. Rather, practical barriers have piled up. Polls show young Poles cite the lack of stable careers, affordable housing, and childcare as reasons to delay kids. Meanwhile, traditional norms and a strong social safety net like those in France or Sweden are absent in Poland. Without easier living conditions, even many would-be parents simply wait or have just one child. One solution often suggested is immigration. But here's the delicate piece. Poland remains one of the EU's least foreign-born societies, 2.6% of residents by January 1, 2024. Meanwhile, foreign-born mothers accounted for 23% of all EU births in 2023, with more than 30% in Germany, Austria, Belgium, and others. In Poland, births to non-Polish citizen mothers were about 6.7% in 2023 and 2024, higher than before, but still low. Correlation isn't causation, but across Europe, more newcomers of family-forming age equals more births, simply because of age structure. Countries like France and Sweden sustain their populations by allowing more newcomers to settle. For example, in 2024, France's foreign-born share was around 12% and Sweden's around 20%, helping offset low native fertility. But Poland's approach has been very different. The government has long resisted immigration and quotas. As Prime Minister Beata Szydło put it in 2016, "I see no possibility of immigrants coming to Poland." Aside from nearly 1 million Ukrainian refugees since 2022, many of whom intend to stay, Poland has admitted almost no economic migrants or refugees. Its foreign-born share remains only a few percent of the population, much lower than in Western Europe. Because of this, there is no wave of migrants to soften the demographic blow. As one commentator put it, the dilemma facing Poland is blunt. The first solution would be to increase immigration. The second would be larger investments in capital, which could gradually replace labor. In practice, Poland is betting on internal fixes rather than newcomers. This contrasts sharply with France or Sweden, where comparatively open doors and integration policies mean immigrant families contribute significantly to births and the workforce. The Polish government has responded with ambitious pronatalist programs to boost families. In 2016, it launched the Family 500 Plus program, a monthly subsidy of 500 zlota, about $140 per child, paid to all families regardless of income. This was later raised and renamed 800 Plus, covering firstborn children as well. In effect, Poland now funnels over 3% of GDP into child benefits, one of the most generous systems in Europe. The state also offers a range of other perks like child benefits and tax breaks. Parents of 2 or more minors are newly exempt from income tax up to about 140,000 zlota each. Families receive a special family card discount program, reduced public transport fares, and subsidies for large families. The recent Family Care Capital provides a one-off 12,000 zlota, around $3,300, payment per child aimed at covering childcare costs. Other initiatives seek to build affordable rental apartments for young families, and new mortgages are subsidized for first-time buyers with children. Local governments also allocate priority school spots or kindergartens for families with multiple children. Statutory maternity leave, 20 weeks, and parental leave, 32 weeks, have been extended, and a paid father's quota encourages dads to take time off. Creches and nurseries are being expanded, though they still remain sparse outside cities. In recent months, new measures have been implemented. In mid-2025, President Karol Nawrocki signed a draft law to exempt all income tax for parents of 2 or more children. Every budget cycle promises more child allowances and campaigns for a lower tax, pro-family agenda. Do baby bonus policies work? The evidence is mixed. In the short term, the 500-plus scheme did lead to a bump in births. Studies and charts show that fertility jumped sharply in 2017, the year after 500-plus launched. In particular, more second and higher-order children were born as families rushed to claim benefits. However, this boost proved temporary. By 2020-2022, birth numbers reversed course again. Official analysts now grudgingly admit that the huge payout has not managed to fend off decline. A Polish government report in 2024 conceded that the 500-plus and the 800-plus program has not achieved its goal of increasing birth rates. The small rise in 2017 was likely just families who had been delaying children. In other words, 500-plus may have changed when babies were born, but not how many in the long run. Poland's case is not unique. Broad cash subsidies tend to have a proven but limited effect. Welfare expert Laurent Toulemont notes that in France and Scandinavia, generous cash helps a bit, but it is the subsidized childcare and flexible family models that make the real difference. Poland still lags there. Less than 40% of toddlers are in formal care, far below 60% plus in Nordic countries. For perspective, compare with higher fertility EU peers. France, for example, achieved a fertility rate around 2.0 in the 2010s through a mix of full-day nurseries, universal daycare, gender-equal work policies, and moderate immigration. Sweden, too, offers 16 months of well-paid parental leave and near-total childcare enrollment, and its TFR hovers around 1.7. Those countries spend 3 to 4% of GDP on family support, comparable to Poland now, but crucially, they also maintain policies that balance work and family and encourage immigration. Even with its generous checks, Poland's TFR remains much lower. 1.10 now, versus 1.6 in France and 1.7 in Sweden. If current trends continue, Poland faces wrenching social change. The population is aging rapidly. Already 23.8% of Poles are over 65, nearly 1 in 4, compared to 13% in 1990. The UN projects Poland's median age will rise from 42 today to 52 by 2050. More strikingly, the old age dependency ratio could climb to 56% by 2050. Economists warn this will strain pensions and healthcare. The government's own pension fund says future forecasts are disturbing and could threaten pension payouts. The workforce is also set to shrink. Estimates project 7 million fewer working-age Poles by 2060, nearly a one-quarter drop. Chronic labor shortages, already felt in hospitals and farms, will intensify. As one analyst noted, Poland's birth collapse could hollow out the country's military potential and weaken NATO's deterrence on its eastern frontier. In less charged terms, declining population could choke economic growth, reduce tax revenue, and make public debt harder to manage. Is a course correction coming? So far, Poland's ruling coalition has doubled down on the same playbook: more cash and one-time bonuses. But other urgent fixes are politically tricky. For instance, boosting childcare or affordable housing requires sustained investment and social consensus. And despite the demographic warnings, the government shows no signs of embracing large-scale immigration. Opinion polls consistently show Poles favor limiting inflows, and leaders cling to the idea of being a largely ethnically Polish country. One thing is certain: if births stay near record lows, the next decades will see Poland fundamentally transformed. Empty classrooms and ghost districts may replace playgrounds and suburbs. The nation's cultural fabric, from vibrant family traditions to the workforce, could disappear. Poland isn't out of options, it's out of time. The fix isn't one more headline or one more fence, it's confidence you can raise a child, a home you can afford, childcare you can trust, parental leave both parents actually use, and, alongside secure borders, a legal path that brings in the young families every aging nation needs. The contrast with France or Sweden is vivid. Those countries managed to keep cradles warm through a mix of work-family balance, accessible childcare, and migration. Poland, by contrast, has relied on cash bonuses and restrained its borders and now pays the price in empty baby beds. Which lever should Poland pull first? Childcare, housing, or managed migration? Can a society afford to have more great-grandparents than grandchildren? Only time and policy choices will tell. If you were the president, what would you do? Thanks for watching Nations in Minutes. If you like this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.